So many of you may have heard, especially considering some of the stories this evening, about little children who run to answer the phone before it rings, or answer questions before they're asked. I was one of those. Even by the age of 4 or 5 years old, I woke up one morning and walked into the kitchen and told everybody in the family, "Oh, by the way, Auntie Min passed away last night, but it's okay, she told me so." And we did indeed get a phone call a couple of days later to say, yes, indeed, Minnie Ball had passed away. And I honestly cannot remember a time in my life when these things didn't happen. They call it ESP, extrasensory perception, but that's not really what it is. It's like tasting sound, seeing smell, hearing images. It doesn't really make sense. It's like looking at a movie through several panes of glass, none of which quite match up. You have a pretty good idea what you're seeing, but you're not there watching this. And this happened all my life. And I found out many years later that this is actually something that has gone back in my family 5 generations. But that's a story for another confab. Suffice it to say that by the time I was in Cégep, I'd started reading tarot cards. I got introduced to it from a book from Paris. And it was a very serious cartomancie, études et philosophie. It had very specific chapters about the different cards, breaking them down into houses and all the different signs of the zodiac. There were discussions about ephemerae and planets, and they took it very, very seriously. And when I started reading cards, my Anglophone friends would usually come to me a little nervous. They'd be like, "Jen, you want to read my cards? There's some stuff going on, you know?" But my Francophone friends would be, "Ah, ma sorcière bien-aimée." That was the title of Bewitched in French, and being compared to Elizabeth Montgomery. Thank you very much, very nice. But they took it very, very seriously. They never laughed about it, they didn't make fun of it. It was just what it was, which was fine with me. By the time I'm in my 20s, I've got a little bit of a reputation for doing this. And one of my Francophone friends calls me up, says, "I know this young couple. They told me there's some weird stuff going on in their apartment. And I told them about you, and they said maybe you'd like to come over and see what's going on." Pourquoi pas? Okay, let's go. So I go over to their place, and this is in Quebec City. Their apartment is just inside the walls of old Quebec. It's a triplex, but it's ancient. It's gorgeous, beautiful stone walls on the outside, curlicues above the doors. The ceilings are 14 feet high. The windows are enormous. It is divine. And I get inside their apartment. Nothing. Yes, it's beautiful high ceilings, and there's lovely wainscoting around the edge, but they had no furniture hardly to speak of. The kitchen, Basic table, a couple of chairs, a cupboard or two, bedroom, small cupboard, small chest of drawers, simple bed, and all in very tacky 1970s kitsch. In the living room, into which I am ushered, there is a 1970s couch, matching coffee table, an armchair, and for some strange reason, there's an ironing board over by the front window. But over here is this beautiful white wood antique rocking chair. And over there on the wall is a 10-foot high white wood garde-robe. The thing is massive. And it's gorgeous. It's all decorated like the outside of the building. It's beautiful. So I get in, and I notice the furniture discrepancy. And I said, "C'est quoi ça? You know, what is this? You've got all this modern furniture, but there's this antique chair and there's this giant garde-robe." And he says, "Well, the garde-robe was here when we moved in. We think it must have been built in this flat." I said, "Well, what about the rocking chair?" And he said, "Oh, that belonged to my grandmother. It's the only thing I inherited from her." Okay. No, sit down, have a cup of tea. I said, why did you ask me to come over? What's going on? And both of them are looking a little sheepish. They're like, "Bah, things are missing." What do you mean? Well, it started with some jewelry, and then my watch went missing, and I had some keys for the car, and they've gone missing, and we left the ironing board out for you because the iron's missing. Cassé, what on earth are you talking about? He said, "Well, when the jewelry went missing in that, we thought maybe we'd been robbed or something, but this just keeps happening and happening. It always seems to happen at night. We know the doors are locked, the windows are locked. We don't know where the stuff is gone. You can see we have nothing. We don't even have a bookcase in here. Where's everything gone? Maybe you can help us find," before he finishes the sentence, the rocking chair. It's moving at speed. He and she have gone to this end of the couch. They are cowering in the corner. His girlfriend is positively buried into his side. She's terrified. And I look over, and it stops. Rocking chairs on wooden floors make a hell of a lot of noise. And I see through those panes of glass where I'm in the room with these two and all of this stuff, but I'm not there. A little old lady sitting in the rocking chair. I can't really make out her body, but I can see her face quite clearly. She's got the most beautiful little eyes, nice little smile. And she looks at me, and I must have moved my head or something. She goes, "Vous me voyez? You can see me?" Now, you got to remember, these two kids are sitting there, and they can only hear what I'm saying. They can't hear anything. They don't see anything at all. Nothing. Nada. I said, "Oui? Yes? Vous êtes qui? Who are you?" And she tells me this story. C'était la visite de grand-maman. There she is. She tells me all about her grandson, how wonderful a young man he is, how happy she is that I can see her and that I can tell them that she's there visiting, saying hello. And I'm like, I seem to be getting further and further away from the room. It's like there's just me and her, and I'm aware of the room faintly, but there's just me and her, and she's telling me this story, and I'm trying to tell the story to these two terrified people. And I see him starting to smile, and he's looking at the chair, wishing that he could see her too. But he can't. But he has that look on his face that he wants to see her. He wants to believe that she's there. And eventually I said to her, I said, why are you here? What's going on? What's with all these things that have disappeared? Do you know anything? And she says, yes, I took them. I said, well, where are they? En haut de la garde-robe. It's 10 feet off the floor. I tell him. The neighbors were doing some renovations. He runs over, grabs a ladder, props it up on the side of the garde-robe, goes to the top of the garde-robe. There is everything, including the iron. And as soon as he brings the iron down, bang! It's like I've been slam dunked into my body. It's like, pow! And I can't see the old lady anymore. I can just hear a faint voice saying, please let him know that I will always be here. And right now, I feel like a ton of shit. I feel like I weigh 18 tons. I am exhausted. My brain is refusing to work. I looked at both of them. I said, je dois partir. I gotta go. I grabbed my purse. I went out the door and disappeared. And you know something that's interesting? I never heard from them again.